calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Next.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver.
Nice.
The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
And it's Jimmy Williams in for Bill Press. Good morning. How is everyone this morning?
I'm well. How you doing, buddy?
I'm fine.
Welcome.
Yes, Peter is here. Who else is here? Jamie is here.
Good morning, Jimmy.
Yes, we got Ray. Ray brought me up. Thank you, Ray, for bringing me up into the dome, if you will. And Cyprian, can he talk to us? He just wiggled the doorknob. He just wiggled the doorknob, which is perfectly fine. Hey, it's Jimmy Williams in for Bill Press this morning. He's out on book tour in California, and if you're out there and you happen to see Bill Press, don't knock him or hit him or anything, but just be like, man, can I buy your book? I want to buy your book. Because your book is cool.
Buy his book.
I want to buy your book.
Buy his book, hang out with him. Last time he went to California, he came back and he sat down in the chair and he goes, I brought something back from California from one of our listeners. And he turns around and he pulls out a bottle of weed that a listener came up and goes, here, Bill, take this back to you, to your staff. And he brought it back to us.
Do they all think you're stoners?
I guess. I don't know what would have given them that impression, but but
dude,
and by the way, Bill just put it in his coat pocket and flew back with it.
Oh my God,
it's an OG right there.
Isn't that so? You know what? I bet he thought he was on Pan Am.
Yeah, that's right.
Eastern Airlines. Bill is so old school that he thought he was on Pan Am.
Yeah.
And he thought it was just a bottle of Earl.
That's
right, just a bottle of Earl. That's all it was. You can catch us live on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV, and that's on Direct TV, which I am a fan of because I live in the sticks, and on Dish TV. Talker is youtube.com, TAWKRTV. Tweet us at BP Show, please. And you can call us, as usual, 866-55-PRESS, 866-55-PRESS. I'm not spelling press for you. If you can't spell that, you can't call us.
Yeah, you can't play.
If
you can't spell press, you can't play.
Do not collect, do not go. Exactly. All right. Well, folks, we have some things happening in the world. Democrat on Democrat violence. And it bothers me to no end because no matter who wins the Democratic primary, I will be voting for him or her. And it seems that there is an issue of qualifications, whether one is qualified versus the other is qualified. I think both are qualified to be president of the United States. And here's the thing. One of them is going to be the president of the United States. And the reason one of them is going to be president of the United States is because the two idiots running on the other side, because I don't count John Kasich this time.
I think that's fair.
They're not going to win.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is not going to win. I think, and I want to remind our listeners, I want to remind Bill's listeners, back in December, who did I predict was going to win the Republican nomination to be president of the United States?
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Ted Spanglish Cruz. Actually, I think we have some sound. Ted was in New York yesterday. He was in the Bronx. Yes, which, by the way, that's THE, the Bronx, not the Brooklyn and not the Queens, just the Bronx. And he was asked a question in Spanish. Here's his answer.
I have the problem of the second-generation immigrant. I learned Spanish the same time I did English. I mean, when I was a little kid, mis abuelos, ellos no hablan English. But to be honest, what I really spoke at home was Spanglish. And you know, as you know, in our community, that's true with just about everyone and certainly with their kids.
Thank you, Ted Krasinski. That was very nice. We appreciate that.
I mean, I would expect his Spanish to be a little bit better. I mean, remember there was that moment where he and Marco Rubio got into it on the debate stage about whether or not he could speak Spanish, and he put on passable Spanish there, but that was pretty bad.
I think that was rehearsed.
Yeah.
I think they actually sat backstage in the green room at the debate, and he and little Marco actually sat with his pump boots, and they actually sat there and said, "Let's rehearse our Spanish so people can think we speak Spanish." Yeah, guess what? It's no pueda. No, you can't. No, you can't, Ted Krasinski. You can't speak Spanish because you don't know any Spanish. Your father, Rafael, he knows Spanish, and he's a bigot and a homophobe, but that's a separate issue. All right, well, guess what? But we started out talking about how there's Democrat on Democrat violence.
Yeah.
And this is a problem for me because yesterday in Philadelphia, Secretary Clinton was asked about Senator Sanders about whether he was qualified. She was asked on Morning Joe yesterday whether or not, and she was asked repeatedly by both Mika and Joe whether or not Bernie Sanders is qualified. At no point in time did Hillary Clinton say that Bernie Sanders is not qualified to be president of the United States. I think she's hedging her bets because if she loses, she's got to support this guy, right?
Yeah.
Right. Which, by the way, so do we. Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
100%.
Right. Got it. But she didn't call him unqualified. But then Bernie Sanders says this.
And she has been saying lately that she thinks that I am, quote unquote, not qualified to be president. Well, let me just say in response to Secretary Clinton, I don't believe that she is qualified.
And that's a problem. Because
Yeah,
here's the deal.
I don't like that at all.
Here's the deal. If she wins the nomination, and that may happen, there's a possibility, a chance, a statistical blip on the
I'd say
screen.
it's a pretty good chance.
That is a debatable issue
Sure.
amongst Democrats.
Sure.
That is a debatable issue in America because of the First Amendment. We're allowed to debate numbers in America. But the bottom line is she may actually win the nomination. He may too. But if she wins, what's he going to do in Philly at the convention?
Yeah.
I take it back. Not only is she qualified, she's going to be the best president of the United States ever of all time. Really, Bernie? Who's telling you this stuff? And why are you doing this?
Yeah, I think one of the things here that up until this point, I think has bothered me is like it's okay to have a disagreement, right? It's okay to disagree. I think one of the good things that this election has shown is just how broad the Democratic Party is. You've got a guy like Bernie Sanders and a woman like Hillary Clinton, and I'd say that they have a, there's a pretty big ocean between them on a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to point those out, and it's okay to, support other people over other people, and that's fine.
I'm jiggy with that.
But you're right. At some point, and even Bernie supporters say, right, like if Hillary Clinton does get the nomination, the sort of drama of Bernie Sanders at the convention throwing his support behind her.
Every reporter in America now has the question.
Right.
Senator Sanders, you said that she's not qualified.
There's a
What has
line,
changed?
right? There's a line. It
Right.
sort of felt like he crossed the line a little bit. I mean, if you're going to eventually support the nominee, which we all have to, you can't say that they're not qualified to be president, I think.
There's a in the movie Tu Wong Fu. Remember the movie Tu Wong
Oh, yeah.
Fu?
Yeah.
And Wesley Snipes is Miss Noxzema Jackson. And
It's a deep reference here, by
It's
the
a
way.
deep reference. And John Leguizamo, who plays Chichi Rodriguez, calls Patrick Swayze an old dinosaur or something like that. And there's this GIF of a drag queen, i.e. Wesley Snipes, and she says, she went there, and that's what's happened here. He went there. You can't do this. You can't do this. I mean, you just can't.
Yeah.
This is now devolving to the level of republicanism. This is the problem.
I think that's right. It's okay for Bernie to attack Hillary Clinton on her vote for the Iraq War. I think, right? Like
Yes!
I think that's totally legitimate.
Absolutely.
Totally
Oh my God,
legitimate.
Yes, I was there for that.
Yeah.
She voted for it. My boss did not vote for it. Dick Durbin, he did not vote for it, but she did. And
Yeah.
you know what? I got it.
Yeah, and that's a fair point to bring up, right?
Yep.
Your judgment was clouded here. I think it's fine for her to bring up certain things that Bernie Sanders has done. That he doesn't necessarily have a fully formed plan of how to get some of his ideas through Congress. That's legitimate to, I don't want to say attack, but to point out to your supporters and trying to get more supporters. But at some point, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
I know
like
what you
it.
mean. Green jeans. The New York Daily News thing is a problem for Bernie, and I'm not even talking about breaking up the big banks, because honestly, if to explain Dodd-Frank is virtually impossible. You cannot explain what Dodd-Frank does.
Yeah.
You can say it would break up the big banks, and by the way, it would break up the big banks. But when you answer the question from the editorial board at the New York Daily News about whether or not you would allow the parents at Sandy Hook to sue the gun manufacturers, and your answer is no, I don't, then that's a big problem, especially if you want to win New York or Connecticut or New Jersey. I mean, you see where I'm going here. Yeah. So that's a problem. I think we have a caller here. This is Jacob from Evergreen Park, Illinois. And Jacob, I'm going to ask you a question. Where is Evergreen Park, Illinois? Because I know Illinois pretty daggum well, and I have never heard of Evergreen Park.
It is in between Oak Lawn and Chicago.
Oh, okay. And is it always green?
I wish.
Dude, two mornings ago, I woke up at my house. It was snowing. I feel your pain.
Yeah,
all right, what's going on, Jacob? What's up, brother?
I love you guys' show. I listen to you every morning. But I heard one of you say that she'd be one of the best presidents ever. And I disagree with that because a lot of the policies she's voted along with has gone against the American, middle class.
Like what?
The Iraq War.
That's legitimate. Like
okay.
What else?
The TPP.
Okay. What else?
Pretty. Anything else? A little more do you need?
She was in the Senate for 8 years. I mean, how many votes did she take? Hundreds of thousands. Now, look, Jacob, here's the deal. I mean, silence on air is golden, right? I understand where you're coming from. And I worked in the Senate when she was there, when she was a senator. I didn't agree with everything Hillary Clinton did. I didn't have to. I didn't work for her. And by the way, here's the dirty little secret. You never have to agree with your boss. You just have to say you agree with your boss, right? Yeah. Okay. Because as a staffer, you're not the honorable Dick Durbin. You are the not honorable Jimmy Williams,
right.
Okay? And I didn't work for the honorable Hillary Clinton. But the bottom line is there were a lot of things that she voted for that did help the middle class. There were a lot of things that she did to move judges that help, working class Americans.
Oh, absolutely. And like everybody said, in the 90s, she was huge with the health care. Well, now she's basically
and kids. I mean, think of the number of kids that are adults today that she helped because of S-chip. I mean,
absolutely.
So I mean, I think it's a legitimate. It's a legitimate debate to bring up the Iraq War vote. It's absolutely legitimate. By the way,
yeah, you're right.
That was a fake vote.
Part of my angry.
Yeah. No, look. I mean, listen. We were all lied to, dude. We were all lied to.
Right.
We were all lied to. But let
me ask you a question. I mean, because I hear what you're saying, and like I think that there are plenty of things to say. If you are a really committed liberal, progressive, however you want to put it, there are some things that you just can't square with Hillary Clinton. But at the end of the day, do you think that she's qualified to be president?
Well, yeah, she spent 8 years in the White House and then spent 8 years in the Senate. It'd be ridiculous to say she's not qualified.
And that's what I'm. That's the point. I think.
Right. I mean, and this is. And listen, I get where you're coming from, and there are lots of people like you, Jacob, out there that think that she's not good for the middle class. But here's the deal: the middle class grew and thrived when she and her husband were in the White House. I have zero reason to believe that they won't grow and the middle class will not grow and thrive if she is elected president. And by the way, I hope she is, because I like having Bill Clinton back in the White House.
Sure.
Frankly, I really do.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion. But anyway, so here we go. But listen, at least we're having our fight amongst ourselves, amongst our sisters and brethren, out here, and we're being open and good about it. But we cannot go out there and say that she's not qualified to be president of the United States.
I agree.
That's a Republican talking point. That is not a Democratic talking point. Yeah. And by the way, it's a talking point. There's no substance to it. Speaking of the Republicans, Donald Trump is back in New York City, hating on Ted Cruz. It's amazing how much he hates Ted Cruz, who's going to win the nomination. But let's listen to Donald Trump yesterday. This was fabulous.
Lion Ted Cruz came today. He couldn't draw 100 people. 100 people. I've got this guy standing over there looking at me, talking about New York values with scorn in his face, with hatred of New York. So, folks, I think you can forget about him.
I don't think you can forget about him, Donald.
Yeah, you can forget about him in New York, but I mean that's not the end all. I mean, Ted Cruz is in third in all the polling that I've seen in New York, and he's even behind Kasich, which really should not be that surprising.
No, but New York is one of 50.
How hilarious is it that Ted Cruz went to the Bronx yesterday? Like, of all the places to send Ted Cruz, the Bronx.
Ted Cruz
is that Bronx. Not the greatest?
Ted Cruz in a Brooks Brothers suit goes to the Bronx.
The Bronx.
He should have gone to He should have gone to the Meadowlands.
Exactly.
That's where the Giants used to play.
That's right.
This Ted Cruz is amazing on every single level. Every single level. I don't know if I've told this story before, but about 20 years ago, I was hosting a dinner party on a rooftop in Adams Morgan in Washington, D.C. here. And my friend Mary Beth was in Georgetown Law School, and her friend Priya was at Georgetown Law School with her. And I hosted the dinner party. So I prepared everything because I'm gay and I cook, right? And by the way, to that one listener that hates me because I'm gay, gay, ha, 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 whatever.
Oh, my God, you're gay?
I'm gay. That's right. That's right. Get used to it. And so I'm hosting this dinner party. And it's a beautiful sort of spring night, and it's wonderful, and everybody's drinking. The wine is flowing, the champagne's flowing, and everybody's having a great time. And my friend Priya shows up with this real asshole for a date. Well, guess what? I know I just got bleeped. And
dump that.
Yeah, dump that. Anyway, not a nice guy shows up with my friend Priya for this date. And it turns out I had forgotten about, and by the way, at the end of the dinner party after Priya and said date had left, everyone was like, who is that guy? Fast forward 20 years, and all of my friends were like, oh, my God, remember that dinner party that we had at Mary Beth's apartment up in Adams Morgan? I'm like, yeah. They're like, that was Ted Cruz. I'm like, what?
Makes sense now.
I've met Ted Cruz? And they're like, yes, he was the guy. He was Priya's date. I'm like, oh, the a-hole. Oh, that guy. I remember him.
Isn't that nice to be remembered that way?
Yes.
Right? Like, isn't that nice? That's how, the guy that nobody could stand.
Including Priya. She dumped him. Clearly, because she's not Heidi Cruz. Exactly, yeah. I don't know. It's what it is.
Yeah.
Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. And we're going to take a quick break, but you can give us a call at 866-55-PRESS, and we will be back in just a moment.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
He calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
But it's Jimmy Williams in for Bill Press, and we've got a lot of calls on the line. I think I've angered the masses. Ron from Elgin, Illinois, and I have been to Elgin, Illinois. Ron, good morning.
Good morning, folks. This is profoundly disappointing and troubling, what has happened, what Bernie said yesterday. I don't know how he can walk this back.
Right.
I mean, this is just, us Bernie supporters have generally said, if Hillary gets the nomination, we will support Hillary. This just gives those Bernie supporters who won't do that some additional energy, and it's just like I said, very disappointing.
But Ron, that's 25%. That's 25% of his voters have said that they will not support Hillary under any circumstances.
That may even grow now after what Bernie said yesterday, and that is, like I said, very disappointing.
Well,
the campaign has lowered itself to this type of dialogue.
We're becoming Republicans in this fight.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron, thank you, and keep Elgin clean, baby. Keep Elgin clean. All right, guys, we'll be back in just a minute.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
But I'm not Bill Press. I am Jimmy Williams, although I'm a wannabe Bill Press. But I'm a Bill Press fan. And by the way, he's out on the West Coast doing a book tour. And you really ought to go find that book. Buy that book, Buyer's Remorse. We're going to take some calls now. Mike from Kansas City, Missouri. Mike,
hey,
good
morning.
morning.
D.C. Jimmy, I think it's really a moot question because if they applied the logic that both of their answers used, they would have said, hey, FDR, Obama's not qualified to be president. So what I'd like to say to them is the answer to that question should have been yes from both of them.
Let me ask you this. Did Hillary Clinton in 2008 ever say Barack Obama was unqualified to be president?
That's not, I don't know what was
The
said.
answer is
I'm just
no.
saying for the current election, it is a moot question. What qualifies anyone to be president?
Well, it's called Barack Obama won by 12 million votes and then 5 million votes. That's what qualifies one to be president.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right, so then whoever wins, and that means they're
them,
qualified to be president.
The answer to both of them said, well, they should have just came back and said, what qualifies one to be president? I mean, really? Because they could have said FDR when he was elected president. Hey, he's not qualified. Who knows what qualifies one to be president?
Well, the American,
yeah,
but you
listen, win the election.
You live in the heart of America, in Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah, we're right here in Jackson County, the liberal heart of America. So.
Well, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with Jackson County. There's nothing wrong with Kansas City. And there's nothing wrong with Missouri. I have been to Missouri. I love Missouri. It's a great state. And Missouri is very indicative of the way the country goes. I understand this. There are conservatives in this country. Mike, there are liberals in this country. And you know what else, Mike? There are a lot of people who don't give a damn. There are a lot of people who just don't care about politics. And they decide. The Americans decide.
That's right. And so they should have just said yes. We'll see who wins.
But the point is that she didn't say he was unqualified, and he said she's not qualified. This is my problem here. I mean, let the Republicans say the Democrats aren't qualified to be president of the United States, and let the Democrats say that the Republicans aren't qualified to be president of the United States, because that is a boring soundbite. That's a political soundbite, and I get and understand that. But, I mean, really, this intra-party crap fighting, I mean, it's ridiculous. Gene from Chicago, Illinois. Gene, you're up awfully early this morning. Good morning. Gene. Oh, hang on. We almost have Gene. We have Gene.
Mean Gene.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, Gene.
Yes, hi. Now I'm a staunch Bernie supporter, but if
Hillary gets the nomination, I'm going to stand behind her 110%. You know, us liberals, Democrats, progressives, whatever you want to label yourself, we've got to get over this. Well, my candidate didn't get the nomination, so I'm going to pout, sulk, and maybe stay home. You know, we've got too much at stake. We got the possibility of taking the Supreme Court back, and by us staying home, we're going to have a repeat of 2010. We got too much to lose by just staying home.
No truer words have ever been spoken. You're right.
Can you? I'm sorry. Can you? I'm upset. Can you imagine? We've got a Republican Congress, we got a Republican Senate, and for God forbid, if we get a Paul Ryan or a Ted Cruz in office, we all might as well just apply for our passports and get ready to leave the country.
I ain't leaving the country. I'm going to fight like a dog. Hey, Gene, let me ask you a couple of questions. If you have a Republican in the White House, if you have a conservative Supreme Court, if you have a Republican House and a Republican Senate, is your right to organize on the chopping block? Yes or no?
Yes, it is.
Is your right to be an equal access person in this country as a gay person on the chopping block? Yes or no?
Without a doubt.
Is your right to have the right to privacy and the right to an abortion, if you need one, medically need one, on the chopping block? Yes or no?
By all means.
Okay. Well, the last time I checked, anybody listening, if you're out there listening here in America, I want you to listen to Gene, because Gene just laid it out on the line. If you vote for the yahoos on the cray-cray side, you're going to get cray-cray policies. If you don't, then you won't. Therefore, vote Democrat. Yay, happiness. And we have Magnus from, okay, I'm going to say this wrong, Magnus.
I got it for you.
Vinyl Haven?
Vinyl Haven, Maine.
Vinyl Haven. Hey,
Whoa,
Magnus.
is that a Magnus for real?
Magnus, talk to me. Did I get Vinyl Haven right?
Vinyl Haven's perfect.
Is it a vinyl? But is it a Vinyl Haven there in Maine?
Vinyl is a family name, and Haven is an island.
Oh, right, I got that. Are you living on an island?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
By the way, my youngest son's name is Magnus. Respect, man.
Yeah, no, I knew that. We talked once before.
Yeah,
I love
that.
All right,
Okay.
Magnus, what's going on up on the islands of Maine?
We catch lobster.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
right.
right.
About
You
it.
should know the first play I was in, I was a lobsterman. You should know that. This is in South Carolina. They don't even know what lobster is.
Yeah, right.
Well, I spearheaded the Lobstermen's Union here in Maine.
Thank you.
Oh, nice.
That's fantastic.
Thank you very
Magnus, I'm
much.
from Maine, by the way. I'm from Falmouth.
Yeah, I knew that, too.
There you go.
Nice.
So, yesterday I was pretty upset listening to the mainstream media talking, stretching things. But I think it's really beyond the pale using these Sandy Hook kids. That kind of disgusts me. I think it's got a sleaze element going into it, and
Well, those kids are dead. It's about their
Well,
parents.
I understand that, but resurrecting that in the fashion that I heard yesterday, it went a little far.
Well, listen, Magnus, I'm a gun owner, and it pisses me off that I can't, look, do you agree with Bernie that these gun manufacturers should not be held liable?
Well, I just think it's hard, and I think it's a harder. I do guns, and everybody needs to be responsible about that. But,
Yes.
But
what about, should the gun manufacturers be responsible for what they're doing?
I don't see how, in some aspects, that could be pulled off.
But it was a vote. That's the point. It was a
that vote was done before Sandy Hook.
No, you're right, but it was a vote, and there have been a billion Sandy Hooks. That's my point.
Well, some things you can, and some things you cannot do. If somebody drives into a crowd in the car manufacturer can't be, held liable. And it's a complicated thing, and I just don't think it should be, presented the way it was yesterday.
Listen, it's tricky. There's no doubt about it, but it was a vote. If Hillary Clinton's vote on the Iraq War is fair game, then Bernie Sanders' vote on whether or not gun manufacturers are liable, can be held liable, that's a fair game too. That's a fair vote too, right?
Sure, it's fair. I just think it just got a little sleazy. That's all.
You know what? When you kill people, when you kill kids, it's never not sleazy, right? Hey, Magnus, thank you for keeping it real, and thank you for being a member of a labor union. We appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
That's good stuff.
That's a hell of a labor union.
That's
to be
a hell
head
of a labor union. Yeah, exactly.
Lobstermen's Union.
I mean,
Perks have got to be pretty good.
Either you're pulling lobsters out or you're not.
That's right. Exactly.
I know. I was one in first grade. And I'm not making fun of these people. I love lobster.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? It's the greatest.
It's speaking of Donald Trump, which we were talking about before the break, he's got a really strong lead up in New York right now. There's a new Monmouth poll out. 52% of New Yorkers support Donald Trump.
Man.
Kasich is 25%. Ted Cruz is at 17%. I guess that New York values kind of thing didn't work out for Ted Cruz. So
weird how that didn't play well.
I hate New York. I mean, he basically said, I hate New Yorkers, which is why he showed up in the Bronx. The Bronx yesterday.
Maybe the most unabashedly proud New York borough.
Yeah.
The Bronx.
Well, there's 7 boroughs.
Yeah.
I think there's 7.
Or 5 boroughs.
5 boroughs, yes. And you walk into the one where you know you're going to find someone who speaks Spanish.
Yeah.
And if your last name is Cruz and you come from a state called Texas where some people speak Spanish, and then you're asked by a reporter in Spanish a question and your response is in English, and it's, you know what, Jamie, I think we should play it again. You know why? Because it's so daggum beautiful. Could you play this again, please?
I have the problem of the second-generation immigrant. I learned Spanish the same time I did English. I mean, when I was a little kid, mis abuelos, ellos no hablan inglés. But to be honest, what I really spoke at home was Spanglish. And you know, as you know, in our community, that's true with just about everyone, and certainly with their kids.
It was Adam Sandler.
Talk about the Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah. So no.
That was one of his serious movies.
No, Ted. You're right, Ted. You do have a problem, and it's not that you're a second generation, American who speaks Spanish. Your problem is that's already been a movie, and you should watch that movie. It's actually a decent movie. It's a chick flick, but it's a good movie.
I've never seen that one.
It's cute.
Okay.
Tia Leone plays his completely OCD wife.
Okay.
He falls in love with the housekeeper.
I like her.
Tia Leone's mother is Cloris Leachman, so no matter what.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Cloris Leachman is this big old drunk.
Nice.
And she's drinking big huge martinis, at 7:00 in the morning.
Yeah, my kind of woman.
And in one of the kids has image issues. I mean, it's your typical. Well, West Coast family, right? And and he's a chef, and it's wonderful, and all these kinds of things. But look, here's the deal. The deal is, Ted, you don't speak Spanish, and if you do, you better start speaking it, because you can't win the presidency of the United States as a Republican without getting a significant number of the Hispanic population to vote for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spanglish ain't it.
Spanglish
ain't it. The convention's going to be funky. I mean, Cleveland's going to be. I'm going, by the way.
We'll be there.
Scripps is sending me.
Nice.
I got to go.
Come on over, hang out with us while we're there.
You're going to be there too?
Yeah, we'll be there. We're broadcasting.
I'll come over in the mornings.
I'll
come over in the mornings, and we'll just be like, oh, did you just see that? Did you see that? Are they going to be packing heat up in there?
Yeah. They say that concealed weapons are not going to be allowed. That's what the security team,
Securite, called Securite. Securite. All right. Well, stay tuned for Cleveland, because that's going to be a week of my life I never get back. That's for daggone sure. Speaking of being back, we'll be back in just a moment with Adam Wollner from National Journal. He's going to talk to us about what's going on in the world. We'll be right back.
Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
you wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
And this is Jimmy Williams in this morning for Bill Press. Thank you for joining us. We've had a lot of phone calls this morning from Maine to Missouri to Illinois. I'd love to hear from the West Coast. Are you awake on the West Coast? I know some of you crazy people out there awake on the West Coast. I know you are.
Thinkers and drinkers are the only ones up out there.
I know you didn't even go to sleep yet.
We love them both.
We love that, exactly. Hey, we've got the National Journal's Adam Warner on the line. Hey, Adam, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing, brother. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Outstanding. I like that. You can catch Adam on Twitter at Adam Wallner, WOLLNER. If you can't spell Adam, I got a problem with that. And, of course, he's at nationaljournal.com. All right, Adam, talk to me, dude. What's going on? What are you writing about these days? Tell me what do you think? What are you getting all nerdy and down on about?
Yeah, nerdy is a good way to put this next story that I'm working on, because everyone, at least on the Republican side, is kind of shifting their attention to the New York primary after Wisconsin on Tuesday, and rightfully so. It's a pretty big primary on April 19th. We got about 95 delegates at stake, but there are other chances for some of the candidates to pick up some delegates, or at least some commitments from unpledged delegates over the next 2 weekends. So much like last weekend when North Dakota held its statewide Republican convention, where they elected delegates that will go to the national convention, Colorado and Wyoming will do similar conventions over the next two weekends. And what these three states have in common is that they didn't hold, what's called a preference poll. They didn't do your traditional caucus or primary system. They just elect their delegates directly at the convention, and they go to the national convention in Cleveland officially unpledged. They're free to support whoever they want. It's kind of this small pool of unpledged delegates who can wind up playing a pretty major role at this convention if Donald Trump or no other candidate comes in with a majority of the delegates.
Okay. Well, that throws a little twist into everything, doesn't it?
It does a little bit, and Ted Cruz is going to be speaking at both conventions. He's going to be at the Colorado convention this weekend. He'll be at the Wyoming convention the following weekend. Donald Trump and John Kasich are both sending high-profile surrogates to try and kind of get their supporters to run for these delegate slots. And because, again, even though they technically are unpledged, they want to at least lock down a commitment for them and say, hey, will you vote for me on the first ballot and beyond at the national convention? And when, if this thing does turn into a floor fight, they can play a very major role. So campaigns are already keeping an eye on some of these conventions that are going to be happening throughout the month.
You know what's interesting, Adam, is I did a podcast for Decode DC, which is, well, I do podcasts every week for Decode DC, and I did one a few weeks ago on this issue of superdelegates. Now, the Democrats have superdelegates, which are these political operatives, right? But the Republicans don't have superdelegates. From what you're describing, sounds to me like Republicans kind of basically have superdelegates.
Yeah, it is very similar to that. To the superdelegate process, and superdelegates, of course, are not elected in any way, or don't have to be selected through any sort of convention process by kind of fellow party activists. So that is one key difference. But yeah, they don't make up quite as large of a pool of the delegate pool on the Republican side, but. And normally, you don't hear much about them because, whenever you go to the convention, it's just a foregone conclusion who the nominee is. But all of a sudden, when we're talking about Trump's going to be really close to hitting that 1237 number, these sorts of delegates that are being elected in Colorado, Wyoming, and North Dakota are really going to be playing an outsized role.
Huh. So, but they're still. I mean, there's this behind the scenes sort of kabuki theater. Getting them when you become one of these unpledged delegates. I mean, how do you get that? I mean, they just don't go to the phone book and pull out Miss Wasserman. Right. It's you got to be like a political insider, right?
That's right. And yeah, these people who are running for these delegate slots, aren't just haven't been watching the news on TV and say, hey, I want to get involved with this. I think I'm going to try and run for one of these delegate slots. It's people who actually know what a delegate is. They know how the process works. They've been involved with the state party or local politics for a long time, and know people kind of within the Republican communities in their states. And that's what puts Donald Trump at such a disadvantage. It's kind of these most dedicated Republicans, conservative activists who fear what a Donald Trump nomination might mean for the party. Those types of people are going more and more for Ted Cruz, and we saw that in North Dakota. Ted Cruz took 18 of the 25 unpledged delegates there, and already through some of the unpledged delegates that have been elected at county conventions in Colorado and Wyoming, that they're going for Ted Cruz. So it speaks to the problems that Donald Trump would have at the national convention in Cleveland, because these delegates, they're party activists who have been involved, have been Republicans for a long time. They're not very likely to willingly vote for Donald Trump.
You know what my Republican friends are telling me quietly? They're saying if he doesn't, what's the magic number you have to get?
1237.
So if he has 1236, they're like, we will not nominate Donald Trump.
Right. That's what you're hearing more and more. First ballot or bust.
Yeah, if you ain't got it, you ain't got it. And
exactly.
They're not going to give it to him, and they'll just give it to whoever they want.
Right.
Which is going to be Ted Cruz.
Right, because once you get after that first ballot, the vast majority, more than 90% of the delegates coming into this convention are bound to a specific candidate. But once you move on to that second ballot, about 3/4 of them become unbound. And all of a sudden, it becomes a free-for-all, and they can choose whoever they want. So there's a good chance that those types of folks aren't going to go for Trump after that.
Adam Warner, thank you, my brother, for being up this early, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, man, and we'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489 million, 856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explain that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces. Alzheimer's has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by 0. Shift. My sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift. World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift. Grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors. Shift, 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 shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands. Heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I'm not Bill Press, I'm Jimmy Williams, but I'm in for Bill Press, who's out in California tipping that book, Buyer's Remorse. Thank goodness for that. Hey, Peter, what you got for me?
So we talked about this story a couple of times, but it's now officially available. Ta-Nehisi Coates
yes, we love him.
Is writing the new Black Panther comic book for Marvel. Black Panther has a movie coming out.
Wow.
He's going to be a big part of the Civil War, the Captain America movie that's coming out next month.
Yeah.
But they've rebooted the comic book, and yesterday Black Panther #1 hit the shelves.
Wow.
I downloaded mine. I'm going to read it when I get home today.
Can you physically buy it?
You can physically buy it. I download all my comics still on my little Marvel app on my iPad, but you can go buy them.
Download the Marvel app and then go get what Ta-Nehisi Coates is doing.
Yeah.
If he does it, it touches gold.
Yeah.
And we'll be back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the earth needs a good lawyer.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Bill Press. Sorry, boys and girls. I had to go to the bathroom. That's what happens when you hit 49. That's right. Anyway, here we are, folks, and this is the Bill Press Show. You can tweet us at BP Show. You can, of course, call us, 866-55-PRESS. Peter, good morning.
Hey, Jimmy. How you doing, buddy?
I'm fine. Jamie's here. Ray's here.
Good morning, Jimmy.
Cyprian's here. Everyone is here. We got lots to talk about. I can't get my earpiece in, but that's nothing unusual about Jimmy Williams. Yes. Now, can I hear you, Jamie?
Yes, sir.
No, I cannot hear you.
No, sir.
All right.
Anyway, doesn't matter. You know what? You got some stuff to talk about.
I do. I could do a little thing here.
Tell me what's going on while I get my
Sure. All right, let's do it, Jamie.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. You know, they say it's a tradition unlike any other. I'm talking about the Masters happening in Augusta, Georgia. This is amazing because before the actual event of the Masters, before the tournament kicks off, they had the par 3 tournament yesterday, where everybody gets a chance to play on the par 3 course.
Yep.
And play it out. Well, here's something interesting. 9 players yesterday. 9 hit a hole-in-one. It's never happened before. Gary Player, legendary golf player.
Yes.
He hit a hole-in-one. Andy Sullivan, Ricky Fowler, Zach Johnson, Webb Simpson, other names you might recognize, they all hit a hole-in-one. All told, 9 players hit a hole-in-one yesterday. I couldn't believe that, so I had to double-check it that was the case. By the way, Gary Player, he's 80 years old, one of the most successful golfers of all time.
Of all time.
That was his 31st hole-in-one. 31st hole-in-one. Like, Bill has a theory that if you hit a hole-in-one, you can't hit another one until every other golfer hits a hole-in-one. But Gary Player's hit 31 hole-in-one.
Yeah, at 80.
At 80 years old.
He just hit one at 80.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
That's beyond amazing.
Facebook yesterday was rolling out their new live video feature. Mark Zuckerberg was going to show it off and let everybody see how well the live streaming capabilities work. But as we know with live broadcasting, not everything goes according to plan. After about a few seconds of talking into the camera, Zuckerberg stood up and the video stream went down. The video link still said that it was live, but it continued to play an 8-second clip of a gray couch with just some chatter in the background. They're not sure what the issue was, but at the time, 118,000 people were watching. And so I'm not sure if it got overloaded or what happened, but something happened.
Kind of like those FaceTime hits on MSNBC.
Yeah, you know, these news hits where people are using FaceTime and Skype and all this stuff from the car. I don't like it. I don't trust it.
I blame satellites.
They go down a lot.
Russia.
All right. This is terrifying.
Oh, dear.
Be very afraid. Because in Fukushima, near the power plant that melted down.
The nuclear power plant
that melted down. Thank you very much for the correction. Well,
Yes.
here's the thing. They have a big problem now because there are wild boars in the area that are, I am not making this
mutant?
up. They are mutant radioactive wild boars, and they are, quote, breeding like rabbits, according to the Mirror, which is reporting on this story. The wild boar population has increased by 330% in the 4 years since Fukushima had the disaster, because no one is really going close to it to help control the population. There's no population control, so they're going crazy. So radioactive wild pigs.
Don't you understand that means that you can live in a radioactive area and have children's?
It sounds like a Simpsons episode.
It totally
Doesn't
sounds like
it?
a Simpsons episode.
There was, back in the early days of Vice, I had a DVD, The Vice Guide to Travel, where they go to Chernobyl, because apparently there are radioactive bears and wild boars that live around Chernobyl. They go and hunt them.
Chernobyl's a fascinating. If there's something on TV or in media about Chernobyl, I stop. Like if I had a baby, I would drop my baby and let my baby sit on the ground, and I would
While you watch Chernobyl?
What's happening about Chernobyl, because it's like Blair Witch meets reality.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's funky. And now here we have Chernobyl and Fukushima.
In all honesty, if you can find that Vice piece, I don't know how you find it. I've got the DVD, but if you can see it, what they see at Chernobyl and what the town itself looks like now is terrifying.
And can anyone ever go back in these places ever again?
Not long term, no. But it's become sort of a tourism spot now. Like people
So
will
tourists go in there.
Crazy tourists. You can go there now, and they give you little meters where you can you walk around and you can see the levels of radiation.
And then all of a sudden, a wild boar.
And then all of a sudden, a radioactive wild boar comes out. Yeah. Walks out on 6 legs.
Walks out on 6 legs with all of his children.
Yes.
Yes, all his baby boarlets. Baby boarlets.
Yes.
I assume they go piglets. I don't know what they're called.
Hey, let's talk about the Panama Papers. Can we talk about the Panama Papers?
We can talk about the Panama Papers. And I think we have actually somebody that actually knows a little something about the Panama Papers, and that would be Karun Demijian. He is on the phone with us. He is. I'm sorry, Karun is on the phone with us from the Washington Post. Karun, good morning.
Hi, it's she.
Yeah, I know. They just looked at me and they were like, "Hey, it's a woman." I'm like, "Okay, it's 7:00 in the morning. Slap me, please."
Well, my voice is lower than it would be at another time of day, too, possibly.
Yeah, you are a woman 24/7, correct?
Right. That is true.
That is true. All right, let's talk about these Panama Papers because this is fascinating stuff, Karun. I mean, what's going to happen with this?
Well, it's a huge jump of information. We haven't actually heard all of it because, a very large group of journalistic organizations are going through and publishing stories that are based on these 11.5 million documents, right? So we keep seeing country by country the implications coming out, and they're not done. So to say what's going to happen with this writ large, it's a hard question to answer. But I think it's also not going to be a simple answer because a lot of this really just depends on how it's received wherever it is that these individuals who are being named or implicated in these reports are. So when you're talking about heads of state, that's a big deal, but it depends on which country you're in, really, how big of a deal it is. In a lot of countries, people that would be found to have offshore accounts that are leaders of the country, it's like, yeah, people kind of knew that because corruption is always kind of assumed to be part of the fabric of governing society, and in other places it's not, and there it's going to be a lot more shocking. And it also depends on what the laws are in each of these countries, so there's no one clear answer, but it's definitely, just generally speaking, it's a huge jump of information. It's confirming in detail what a lot of us already thought existed in terms of this world of secretive, shady financial holdings, and it's just making it all the more real.
But let me ask you this: who's gone down, and who could survive this? And are there any Americans, famous Americans or not so famous Americans, that are involved in this at all?
No, although there have been some reports saying that there may be a few more recognizable American names coming out in the next few weeks as more of these reports do surface. So, one person, I guess, has already gone down, which is Iceland's prime minister, resigned over this. He had a very embarrassing interview, I think, the day or two before he did resign, where he walked out of an interview when they asked him about when they asked him about the holdings that he had. That's not like a huge head to fall, I guess, after this, when you're talking about others that had implicated the leaders of Russia and China and Pakistan and other major countries around the world that are involved in some pretty significant decisions and geopolitics. But again, it kind of depends. I mean, I think that, when you're talking about, Putin's implicated, and I think that it was something like $2 billion worth of these deals, that is that going to make him fall?
No.
Probably not. I would be surprised. I used to be based in Moscow, and I would be very surprised if this means, the end of Putin. They're not even reporting it very much there in Russia right now in the Russian language.
Well, when you own the media,
that helps, right? There seems to be there's some more embarrassment right now in China because it's so many members of the top party circle that has been implicated in this, including, the president of the country, that, again, it's not a question of is the whole system going to fall apart, but there seems to be a little bit more embarrassment and public frenzy about how do you keep this under control. But then you also have, a question of, in a country like Ukraine, you've got a president that came to power saying he's going to fight corruption, and then he's found out to also be implicated in these reports, too, of having offshore holdings, right? So what does that mean in terms of when it compromises your integrity and you're not getting really high approval ratings right now in the first place? I think it's going to depend on how long this story lives out in all these places, much like everything, right, in politics. If it keeps gripping the news cycle. People get really upset. I mean, in Iceland, there was protests in the street, and there was a resignation. If we see that in other places, maybe this will also mean other people are going down for it, but it really depends on what the culture of that country is where these things have happened and how powerful the people who are named are.
Well, if you're a democracy, you can have protests. If you're not a democracy, you don't really have. I mean, Tiananmen Square. I mean, this is. I mean, if you're saying that there are tons of these high-level Chinese officials that have they're implicated in this. Well, what are they going to do? I mean, so there's insider hiding in China. I mean, no one should be shocked.
I mean, there's more control of media there too. And I saw one report that said that they were actually blocking internet searches because China does that quite a bit in terms of controlling access to what you can see online for Panama Papers, so people wouldn't read about it. So I think what I was just trying to say there is that you can kind of sense that there is more concern, it seems, coming from the top leaders of China that this could be really bad. So they're trying to very much control the flowing information.
How do you think? Go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go on.
How do you think this affects John Kerry? John Kerry just landed in Bahrain. I mean, John Kerry is our Secretary of State. Should John Kerry even weigh in on something like this?
Ooh, that is a very good question. I mean, it's tricky. Well, look, people have been mentioning it. Politicians have been mentioning it. Even politicians that haven't been implicated, right? So even Obama mentioned stuff about offshore trading recently. So it's not like it's an off-limits topic if you're a diplomat. I'm not going to give the Secretary of State advice on what to do one way or another, but there are many. It's a difficult prescription to give. You could make this a rallying cry, if you want to, but is the United States completely have its hands clean in it? Possibly not. Like I said, they're not done releasing information of the Panama Papers, or at least the reports, because they're trying to, unlike a WikiLeaks template, it's like there's the information on the internet. They're trying to parse it out through pretty deeply reported pieces that do communicate the implications of all of this as they're putting it out. It goes from the United Kingdom all the way to China, so it's a pretty broad swath of different types of countries.
Right. So this is not just 2 or 3 countries and 2 or 3 dictators. This is widespread.
You can't just make this about Putin and about China. It's not that. It's very, very widespread, and that's the most gripping part of it, right? Is that it goes into. It goes into everything. It goes into just we talk and we like to talk about the world leaders, right? But this is rich, influential people in other areas of life. This is spy networks. This is all kinds of, name your different, TV drama script that you want to. We toss off that phrase offshore accounts a lot without thinking about it, and this gets into real detail about how it plays out at various different, levels of society and interactions.
I think where I'll be interested in seeing what's happened is Secretary of the Treasury, Jack Lew, what he would say about this. You're right. There is a lot of debate here in the United States, amongst policymakers and political people about, offshore havens, blah, blah, blah. Here it is. But are we actually doing anything to crack down on this from a policy perspective? No.
Well,
although Treasury
entirely.
2 came out
there
yesterday.
There have been steps that have been taken, right, to try to force remember Swiss numbered accounts, right? That we pushed on that, and that changed. And some of these names, because these are documents that go back, I think, 40 years. So some of these people who have come up, both in the United States and abroad, have already been subject to criminal proceedings, to sanctions of various sorts of types and sorts. It's not like nobody knew about any of this stuff, right? And some of this actually has. Some of these people and some of these dealings have been addressed in various forms, just not all of them. And I would guess that probably not the majority of them either. I don't know that for certain, but it's not that people are doing nothing. But the question is clearly, are they doing enough to stop this sort of thing from happening? No. And we're talking about one firm in Panama, a very large firm, but still only the 4th largest firm, right, that deals with these things. So it's a much bigger issue than even what was revealed in this one massive data dump. Lets us know about.
As a former Senate staffer, you know what I figured out a long, long time ago?
What?
If you got a lot of money, you got a good lawyer, you keep your money. I think the Panama Papers have proved my point. What do you think?
Sorry, I missed the last part of the
If you have a lot of money, you have a good lawyer, you can figure out a way to keep your money.
Well, I mean, yeah, and that does get into the question right here. As one of the many articles have said, the most shocking thing about this is that it's not actually like all this stuff is illegal. It's operating in this gray area of what is legal, or maybe on the razor edge of where the law meets what's not legal anymore.
Yeah.
The issue that's actually the question of legalness is more to do with tax avoidance, right? And that depends on each of the individual countries where these people who are named live and reside, and where they should be paying their taxes, or where they've broken their ethics rules if they're representatives. And that's not. It's difficult to say, what the lawyer's skills are, basically, even that are going to need to be employed to get around this for different people, because it is such a patchwork.
Nobody likes to pay taxes, Karun. Hey, thank you very much. This is Karun Demijian from the Washington Post. You can follow her on Twitter at Karun, Karoun. Thank you, Karun. We'll be right back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
She calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
That's
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
And I'm Jimmy Williams in for Bill Press. Good morning. So we just had a person tweet us on Twitter, because you tweet on Twitter, and say, thanks for giving context to what Bernie said about Hillary being unqualified. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to play Hillary's Morning Joe stuff, and then we're going to have this discussion. We're going to talk about whether she said it versus he said it. In just a second.
So here, by the way, is what Bernie Sanders said when he was speaking before a crowd yesterday.
Okay.
He said, I don't believe she is qualified if she is, through her super PAC, taking tens of millions of dollars in special interest funds. I don't think you're qualified if you get $15 million from Wall Street through your super PAC. He went on to say, I don't think you're qualified if you have voted for the disastrous war in Iraq. I don't think you're qualified if you have supported virtually every disastrous trade agreement, which has cost us millions of decent paying jobs. I don't think you're qualified if you supported the Panama Free Trade Agreement, and goes in on that.
He said it 5 times. Hillary Clinton is not qualified. He gave 5 reasons Hillary Clinton is not qualified. What did Hillary Clinton say, Jamie?
I believe this morning that Bernie Sanders is qualified and ready to be president of the United States.
Well, I think the interview raised a lot of really serious questions, and I look at it this way. The core of his campaign has been break up the banks, and it didn't seem in reading his answers that he understood exactly how that would work under Dodd-Frank, exactly who would be responsible, what the criteria were. And that means you can't really help people if you don't know how to do what you are campaigning on saying you want to do.
So
I think we have our answer. He said she's not qualified 5 times, and at no point in time does Hillary Clinton say or even intimate that Bernie Sanders is not qualified. And we'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
And I'm Jimmy Williams, in for Bill Press. Good morning, everybody. We have Zach Ford here with us from Think Progress. He is the LGBT editor at Think Progress. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Well, it's actually been a kind of crappy week weather-wise and a crappy week news-wise, so I'm like, I'm okay.
Meh.
But it's your birthday.
It's my birthday.
Happy birthday, Jimmy.
Thank you very much. I'm 49 young.
Aw.
Yes, 49 young.
You're pushing it, buddy.
No, I'm just living it.
Could have fooled me.
I'm just living it hard and living it good.
I wouldn't have given you a year over like 45.
Thank you. He is the LGBT editor at Think Progress. That's all I can say. You know us crazy gays. You can follow Zach on Twitter at Zach Ford, Z-A-C-K Ford, F-O-R-D. And, of course, you can always follow the great folks who are doing great work at Think Progress at thinkprogress.org, over at thinkprogress.org. Zach, apparently there seems to be a little bit of gay Jim Crow happening across America. Oh, actually, no, across Dixie. What the hell is going on? Talk to me, baby. What's going on?
People don't like us, Jimmy.
Well,
it's just we're icky and we're gross.
Remember Heather?
And we're gonna molest all their children or
Remember
something.
Heather's? I love my dead gay son.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Greatest line ever of a movie.
So, we knew there would be some backlash after we won marriage equality last year.
Yes.
And the timing was really bad because we were also getting all this transgender visibility at the same time. And so there's a backlash against them too. Mm-hmm. And everybody's just hating on the queer community because it's easy, particularly in the South where either the queer population is centralized in cities because they've sought each other out or they've just left the South entirely.
Like I did.
There's not, sure. There's not a lot of, energy to resist these kinds of things. There's not a lot of visibility because it's not safe. And, this stuff is just plowing through. I was optimistic when we got the veto in South Dakota for that anti-trans bill.
Yeah. A Republican governor vetoed the anti-trans bill.
Yeah. Well, and, last year and the year before when some of these first started to appear in the state legislatures, even like Republican House leaders and things like that kept it from moving forward because they saw like this is just too blatantly bigoted. Like, there's no way that we do this and it turn out okay.
Right.
But because North Carolina started this set of dominoes, and they did it in a way that avoided all of the controversy, right? Because they weren't in session. Charlotte passed this thing, and it was kind of no big deal, but Governor McCrory had to, jump in and
say his piece.
The former mayor of Charlotte.
Former
moderate mayor of Charlotte, who's now the governor of the entire state of North Carolina.
Indeed.
Right.
And, they called a special session, and they rammed this thing through. They passed it.
24 hours?
Less than 24 hours. It passed out of House committees and Senate committees, the full House, the full Senate, and got the governor's signature. So there was no opportunity for public outcry. There was no opportunity for businesses to talk about what impact this would have on them and their willingness to participate in the state. No opportunity for trans folks to just say, look, I have to pee. Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? And so now we're left with, this in place, and other states now feeling like they have permission. So we saw Mississippi pass their very broad license to discriminate bill with just, it's I call it a veritable catalog of ways to discriminate. They want you to know if you have a business and you want to be able to discriminate against same-sex couples, that's great. Go ahead and do it. We've thought that out for you.
We've shown you the way.
I've shown you the way.
Right.
You hit on something early that is interesting to point out here, because after the marriage equality ruling and after this great moment, right, in American history, a friend of mine who puts on an event called Chefs for Equality, it's all about supporting the restaurant community, supporting LGBT community, and he goes, "This is big. But let's not forget, they will continue to come after us." This was a little over a year ago.
Yep, sure.
They will continue to come after us. This is a big, big ruling, and marriage is great, and we love this. But it's not going to stop. Sure. And so I think, this is the next evolution of that, which is, I think this is just way more hateful in a lot of ways. This is almost spiteful.
Well, it's not surprising, though, because we know that they did the exact same thing with abortion, right? First of all, they called it the Roe v. Wade of marriage because that's how they saw it. And then they immediately started doing what it took them a couple more decades to do with abortion, which is find all of the little ways that they can chip away at that. So,
correct.
Okay, now I guess you guys are allowed to get married, so we're going to just find ways to discriminate against you when you try to, or refuse service to when you do, or find ways for our state employees to, refuse to recognize
or fire you when you come back from your gay honeymoon.
Exactly.
Right, because that's legal.
Right. So, we know that there's this chipping away tactic when conservatives lose the big fight but still want to keep fighting. And then we don't have that for trans people. And so they're caught in the milieu over the sexual orientation backlash, and they're having to fight for their own just basic right to, pee.
It shouldn't be lost on anyone that you probably have already used the bathroom with somebody who's trans. And you didn't even know it. So do me a favor, shut up. Not you, Zach. America. I don't want to hear that trans people walk into bathrooms and molest children. Because they don't.
No, it's just not, it's so easy.
Why didn't any of these bills include senators? I know of a couple of senators that have had some bathroom transgressions. Why didn't this bill...
I have a very wide stance.
I have a very wide stance, Larry Craig. Why don't any of these bills include clergy? I mean, do we really want to have a legitimate conversation about people who actually do engage in pedophilia? Because we can have a legitimate conversation about people who we know for decades have been pedophiles.
Sure. Well, let's be honest. This isn't a conversation about people who actually commit sexual assault or actually commit voyeurism. This is actually basically a fear of penises, right? This is.
Oh, he said the P word.
Right? This is.
Or non-penis.
If you look at, there's this group of women in Washington who are trying to overturn the trans protections there, and they all identify as survivors of sexual assault, which it's unfortunate that they experienced that, and power to them for having the courage to speak out about it and everything. But they're translating that and saying, it would trigger my post-traumatic stress disorder if I were in a bathroom and I saw male genitalia because I was the victim of that.
Well, guess what? I'm a survivor of sexual assault by a family member, and I'm pretty sure that doesn't happen with me. I could be an anomaly. That's publicly known. You Google Jimmy Williams, and one of the first things that will come up is when I admitted that I was sexually assaulted by a family member. Not by my priest, not by my tennis coach, by a family member.
Right.
And you know what? It wasn't in a bathroom.
Well, that's the thing that most of these, rape crisis centers are saying as they're coming against these bills is most sexual assault happens by somebody who knows the victim. It doesn't happen in a bathroom. That's extraordinarily rare.
Yes.
These opponents of trans protections like to cite all of these cases they found of men who dressed up as women to film under the stall or things like that. One, there was a 20-minute video and there was only about a dozen cases, and we know about them because they were arrested because that behavior is still illegal. There's no actual evidence to show that any of these laws actually enable or encourage this kind of behavior. It just doesn't happen. It just protects trans people who want to pee safely.
I have a question for you, Zach. And are you a lawyer?
No, I've never been to law school.
Peter, are you a lawyer?
No.
Jimmy Williams is not a lawyer. There are not 3 lawyers in this room, but I can ask this question. I think it's a legitimate question to ask, and I think you might have a legitimate answer. Does every state ban pedophilia currently?
I don't actually know.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Because, see, if you do, then you already have a pedophilia ban on the books. So what's the point? Why single out one group of people? Why single out gays and lesbians and transgendered people for one thing when you already have laws on the books? This is big government. Oh, my God. More laws. Extending into public bathrooms and locker rooms and school. Really? Seriously? Someone that you think dresses up as a woman or dresses up as a man is going to walk into a bathroom and molest you or your child? Well, then you already have laws in the books that they can be prosecuted.
Exactly.
So then why us?
What's clear is when all of these, lawmakers who put these bills into place, like the South Carolina lawmaker who introduced his version.
Right.
This
not
week.
so bright, by the way.
Well, not so
Mildly
much, no.
stupid at very best.
He said the same line that we hear, that we don't want men, quote unquote men, going into bathrooms where there are women and girls. Well, what is he saying? He's not actually talking about men. He'll pretend that he's talking about cisgender men that are just going to pretend, they're going to put on a dress and pretend that they have access to this restroom. But he's not really. He's actually talking about real transgender women. The people don't understand who transgender people are. It's just, it's an education thing that we haven't actually accomplished despite the increase in visibility. And part of that is just the nature of trans identities are different than being gay. As gay guys, if we followed all of the models of adulthood, the visibility of our identity would increase, right? We come out to ourselves, we come out to our family, and then we maybe find a partner, and we introduce them to our families, and then we move into a neighborhood, and then we maybe have kids, and then we take our kids to the school, and now we're part of the school community. Every step of the way, more people see that we're gay. But if you're trans, all of the visibility is at the front when you're transitioning, and as long as you don't have issues being viewed as or perceived as trans by people looking to clock you, you can go about your life, not publicly identifying as trans and just being safe and normal and going about your life. And so we can't treat trans visibility the same way that we treat gay, bi, and lesbian visibility. We have to find other ways to help educate people about who these people are. And we just haven't accomplished that yet. We haven't found all of the effective mechanisms and all of the effective messaging.
Well, to be completely honest, the gay community is just as much at fault as the straight community on this, because for a very long time, we didn't include trans people.
Oh, we still don't. HRC's made a lot of damage control efforts, but I don't know that it's shown in the results. And I still get emails and tweets from people every day saying, I don't know why, you're spending all this time writing about trans issues when you're a gay guy. And I was like, because first of all, I actually care about people other than myself. But second of all, the struggle is the same. If you're being harassed for being trans, you're being harassed for violating gender norms, and we do that too. We're a little bit of a form of gender rebel ourselves, even if we might, otherwise look masculine.
That's
whatever
exactly
the heck that
right.
means.
But we're going to take a quick break, but then we're going to come back, and Zach and Peter and I are going to continue this conversation about Caitlyn Jenner, South Carolina, and why you have already peed next to a trans person. We'll be right back.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver.
Nice.
the strike zone, the net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
It's Jimmy Williams in for Bill Press. Good morning, everyone. It is 7:48 on the East Coast. I don't even know what time it is on the West Coast, but thank you for listening if you are. That means a lot to us. And I got Zach Ford here from Think Progress. Zach, we were just talking about how if you have used the bathroom in public in America, you have probably used the bathroom with a trans person and you didn't even know it.
Sure.
Well, why are all these laws being put on the books? South Carolina's got Lee Bright, a state senator, who, by the way, has a primary challenge, which is why he's doing this. And you should also know that he is loathed within the entire Republican caucus down in South Carolina. They can't stand him.
He's like the Ted Cruz of South Carolina.
Lee Bright is the Ted Cruz of South Carolina. It is so bad. I mean, seriously, he is just pathetic. And Governor Haley, Republican, she called some good stuff when it came to the Confederate flag. And now she has come out and she has said, no, this is not who we are. We don't do these kinds of things. Thank you, Governor Haley. I mean, very few people have been as critical of Nikki Haley as Jimmy Williams. I can tell you, I've written multiple columns about how bad Nikki Haley is. And then she went and pulled that daggum flag down off the state grounds. And now this. I'm going to have to like this lady. It's killing me.
You can give credit where it's due and still overall just like a person.
Yeah.
I've gotten really good at that, actually.
I know. It's a pro and con issue. We have Carol from Minneapolis on the phone. Carol, good morning.
Good morning. I'm really enjoying the show today. Thank you so much. And yesterday it was great, too. I just wanted to say that I think that this H.R. 2 will be a jobs bill because it'll put all those Republican birthers to work searching birth certificates at every public restroom.
Yeah. Well, that's a requirement, right?
That's right, and it's going to make the adult diaper sales go way, way, way up.
Well, honey, I'm knocking on 50. Don't even start about adult diapers. I mean, good grief. I mean, I'm a little worried about that. I mean,
They're great at the protest rallies, and I plan on wearing it to Cleveland. I do have a quick question, though.
Yes.
For the HR2, and I don't know if this is true of the one that went through in Mississippi, I'm proud of our Minnesota Governor Dayton for saying no unessential travel to either place.
Thank you, Mark
He's
Dayton.
Really good on LGBT. Absolutely. But I heard on a local affiliate news segment that there was two sections to this bill. The first part of the bill is referred to as the bathroom bill, and the second part of the bill actually attacks all workers' rights, including things like child labor. And I was seeking some confirmation of that because I only heard it from one news source.
So in North Carolina, this is true. This is a piece that is not in the South Carolina bill that was just introduced. But in the North Carolina bill, there was a whole section of preemption clauses. These are aspects of the law where the state says the cities and counties can go no farther in their laws than what's at the state level. So we've seen this in Tennessee and Arkansas, specifically on non-discrimination protections, where they said you can't do sexual orientation and gender identity because we don't have it at the state level.
So if a city says you can't discriminate, the state can then come in and say, yeah, actually you can.
Right, but the North Carolina bill went farther than just non-discrimination protections. It actually included anything related to benefits for workers. So
like minimum wage?
Minimum wage, any sort of leave benefits, any other kinds of policies that a city might want to go further than the state. And the state is only $7.25 minimum wage, same as the Fed. It's not like there's great benefits in place. All of those would also be preempted by this law. And it's totally irrelevant to sexual orientation, gender identity kind of protection stuff. It's just saying we're taking state control and taking this away from the cities.
Was that the case with the Mississippi?
No, Mississippi's bill is very different. Mississippi was all about this religious liberty stuff, all about the different way. Basically, if you believe that sex should only be between a man and a woman in marriage, if you believe that gender is determined by biology at birth, and if you actually believe that you shouldn't have sex outside of marriage, then you can basically discriminate against anyone on those bases.
So if I'm a video store owner, because people do watch videos, if I'm a baker in Mississippi and I know that you've been having sex with you're a woman and you've been having sex with a man and you're not married or engaged to that man, I can refuse you service in Mississippi.
It might be a stretch to justify how that service relates to that behavior, but sure. I mean, the better example is an adoption agency says you guys were actually having sex before you got married, and even though you're married now, we're not going to consider you for an adoption just because.
Shouldn't they have tried sex out to make sure they couldn't have children beforehand?
Well, it's the question of whether they did it when they were married or not, because all that matters is that marriage. If that ring's not on that finger and you're having sex, boy, you're going to hell.
Oh, my goodness. Zach, this is good stuff. This is bad stuff, but it's good that you're out there harping on it. Thank you, Zach, for it. I appreciate you being here.
Glad to be here.
We'll be right back.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
For Mike Brown. I'm sick of writing this poem, but bring the boy. His new name, his same old body, ordinary black dead thing, bring him. And we will mourn until we forget what we are mourning. And isn't that what being black is about? Not the joy of it, but the feeling when you're looking at your child, turn your head, then poof, no more child. That feeling, that's black. Think, once a white girl was kidnapped, and that's the Trojan War. Later, up the block, Troy got shot, and that was Tuesday. Are we not worthy of a city of ash, of 1,000 ships launched because we are missed? I demand a war to bring the black boy back, no matter what his name is this time. I at least demand a song. A song will do. Or a head.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Or Zach, what are you writing about for what's coming up from you?
So look forward on Friday morning for a review from me and my colleague Jack Jenkins. He's our religion reporter. He's got a master's in divinity. I'm an out and proud atheist. I took him to see God's Not Dead 2, the new Melissa Joan Hart,
Clash of the Titans.
The evil atheist ACLU comes after Melissa Joan Hart because she dares to acknowledge to a student that MLK was inspired by Jesus in his "Love Your Enemy" verse. Apparently, that's unconstitutional, and that makes evangelical Christians this big persecuted minority, and you'll just have to read our conversation about the film. He actually, my colleague who writes about religion, struggled with it more than I did. I actually kind of liked it. It was very watchable. The people are very pretty in it.
But you like pretty people. He likes Jesus.
He likes Jesus, but he's not like the Jesus that they portray.
No, he's been in here. He's not like that guy.
No, I'm good with
really
that.
Funny.
Yeah.
You can pick all this up at thinkprogress.org. Zach, thank you very much. Keep watching what's going on in these southern states.
Oh, we will.
All right, man, and we'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. My whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation of supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
But Bill is not here. It is Jimmy Williams in for Bill. Good morning, everybody. I've got Peter, Jamie, Ray, Cyprian. Everyone's here. And the lovely and fabulous and talented Jackie Kucinich is here from the Daily Beast. Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning, Jimmy.
I'm glad you're here.
Oh, I'm glad to be here on this rainy, lovely day of your birth.
Oh, it is the day of my birth.
Happy birthday.
The 49th year of my birth.
Happy birthday, buddy.
My mother spent 28 hours in labor with me.
You're worth it.
Lord have mercy.
Literally, and I wonder why she hates me so much. She'll say now, I go, I just have to excuse her because she literally tried to squeeze me out of her body for 28 hours.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Man.
I know. Oof. Thank you, Miss Linda, you the BOMB. So we've got a lot coming up, but before we get to any and all the good stuff, I think Peter's got a little rundown for us.
I do.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. To the sports desk we go, where baseball is officially underway.
Thank God.
Washington Nationals won again last night, 2-0.
Thank God.
Here's a great story that's developing from Colorado. The Colorado's Rockies have a rookie shortstop. His name is Trevor Story. First year playing baseball. Yeah. They've played 3 games. Yeah. He's hit a home run in every single game. It's the first time it's ever been done that a rookie has hit a home run in his first 3 games. In fact, he hit 2 home runs in one of those games, so he's currently hit 4 home runs on the season. So we will just have to see if he keeps. At this rate, he's going to hit a home run in every single game he plays.
You realize he's screwed now, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's all down here from here, buddy.
Right. Kind of what I was talking with his agent.
Oh my God! Right? Can you even imagine?
Yes.
The biggest company in the world was Walmart. That's how it's been for a long, long time. The 2015 revenue for Walmart was $482.1 billion. Well, here's the thing, though. A company called Alibaba from China is now saying that they have raked in $489.4 billion.
Are they owned by the Alibaba family in Beijing? Like Walmart is owned by the Walton family in Little Rock?
That's a very good question. So they filed earlier this week that said that they get $489.4. So that is about $7 billion more than Walmart. So they are now
$7 billion more.
Last year.
Chump
change exactly to those guys. So they're saying that they are now the biggest company in the world. It's bigger than Walmart.
Wow.
It's like bigger than Jesus, bigger than Walmart.
So basically, they're what's the second ribbon color? What's it called? Not blue. What's the second ribbon? Red.
Silver.
That's all I can think of. They're like Michelle Kwan.
Finisher.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Participant.
They're just a finisher in the billionaire world.
Yeah, exactly. You're just a finisher now.
And finally, we've had a passing yesterday. Sad news from the country and Western world. Merle Haggard passed away. By the way, died on his birthday.
Yes.
Jimmy.
Yes.
It's your birthday, buddy.
And I'm getting on a plane.
Don't go anywhere.
I'm getting on a plane to fly to Miami.
He celebrated his 79th birthday, and then he passed away. Complications from pneumonia. Now, Merle Haggard started writing music when he was in San Quentin. If you don't question his, hard metal country roots. So, yeah, he is no longer with us. 3 dozen #1 country hits in his musical career. Think about that. That's crazy.
Merle Haggard affected a lot of people. He affected me, I can tell you, as a kid growing up in South Carolina.
Yeah, I listened to a lot of Hag.
Yeah, there's a lot of Merle Haggard. David Allan Coe even put him in David Allan Coe's most famous song, right? Merle Haggard was the bomb.
What's great is you see all of these people who've now have had a lot of success in the country western world that all came out and said Merle Haggard was hands down the best writer, right? Just in terms of pure musicality, right? The greatest
and speaking of writing, if you want to read a really amazing obituary, Malcolm Jones from the Daily Beast. The headline is Merle Haggard sang us all back home, and it's so perfect.
I will read every Merle Haggard obituary.
It's a beautiful obituary for someone who really contributed a lot of beautiful songs.
Yeah,
he really did.
I will read every song.
So to Merle Haggard's family, we're thinking about you guys.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, guess what? There's a lot going on in the world of politics. Hillary doesn't like Bernie. Bernie don't like Hillary. Donald don't like Cruz.
No one's qualified for anything.
No one's qualified for anything. The lying Ted Cruz can't speak Spanglish. What in gay hell is going on in politics, Jackie?
It's called the New York primary, and things are getting real. We always,
real hot.
Yeah, I mean, New York is kind of known for its smash mouth politics, and I don't think the presidential election is going to be any exception.
Okay.
It's just the other. I mean, Donald Trump is basically using Ted Cruz's words about New York values as a blunt object by which to beat him with. He's just over and over, he's going to keep on that. And, New York is not exactly the most hospitable territory for Ted Cruz. He's polling behind Kasich right now there. Yeah. But the interesting thing, Ted Cruz has always played the long game when we talk about the presidential race. And he continues to do that. He's trying to pick off delegates because of the New York rules, and I won't bore everybody with the New York rules, but he's trying to pick off delegates in congressional districts that don't have a lot of Republicans. So if he wins those, or if he comes in second and no one has a plurality, he can pick off delegates. And that's all it's just about adding to his total and keeping Trump from
getting to the number.
Getting to 1237. That's what it's all about.
This is just so fascinating to me because everyone's running around focusing on the Democratic side. But does Clinton get to this number? Yeah. Does Bernie stop her from getting to this number? That's a legitimate debate. Although I think she gets there.
I think she gets there.
Right. I mean, she either has to die or something has to happen to Hillary Clinton for her basically to not get there. Or Bernie has to win 63% of every single primary, by 63% of every primary going forward. And I don't know that he's going to do that. Mm-hmm. And if he fails in any of those primaries going forward, he doesn't get to that. He doesn't deny her that number. But on the Republican side, what they're telling me, and I have Republican friends, just like they have gay friends, right? I'm their gay friend. They're telling me if Trump comes up at 1236, the answer is no, you're not going to get it.
Nope, them's the rules. I mean, and, for the Trump folks that keep on saying that Cruz is going to, quote, steal the election from them, you need to,
steal it if you don't have it.
You can't steal it if you don't have it. If you don't have, if you don't have the number of delegates you need to win the nomination, you don't win the nomination. It's not about who has the most. It's who has that number plus one, or, So it's just the idea that, they're going to go in and be like, but we have the most. Well, that just doesn't, you need to play by the rules that the game came with. You can't just make up your own. Not everyone is Jimmy Williams.
I think that's totally on point. But at the same time, I don't think that Trump supporters feel that way. No. Right. So, just to play devil's avocado, let's say he gets there with 1236 and it does go to Ted Cruz. Then I'm not asking how Trump reacts, but what's the fallout from that?
Well,
some very angry Trump supporters. But here's the other thing. They were talking about, Trump's talking about riots, etc. Here's the problem with that argument is that a lot of the people that have to vote for Trump on the first ballot are double agents. Yeah. So who's going to rage?
Right.
I mean, yes, there are definitely Trump delegates going, right? People who love Donald Trump who are going to be delegates at the national convention.
There were Ron Paul people at the last one.
Well, right. And they kicked up a lot of sand on the floor. I was in the middle of it when all the guys and all the Texans started freaking out. But I do wonder. I mean, yes, there's going to be turmoil, but I do wonder if it's going to be the chaos that has been predicted. If you do have now, if
that's
they go
inside the hall.
Inside the hall.
Outside
the hall is another story entirely.
So, I got to tell you, I've been to a lot of conventions. I don't see. I think I'm agreeing with you. But then I always, in politics, leave the door open to not agree with someone, by the way, because I think they could just raise holy hell down there.
I think they can. And I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I wonder if it's going to be as catastrophic as it's being predicted. I think there's more of a chance for kind of widespread unrest if you don't have Ted Cruz or Donald Trump end up being the nominee, and this crazy scenario where Paul Ryan's going to swoop in and save the day again for the establishment. I think that might be a little bit more. That might rile a lot more people because Paul Ryan hasn't won a single state.
Right. And this is not the 1960s.
Right.
And you don't get to do that now because the media, we're everywhere.
Right.
And we're going to show you that. I mean, look, you can't just hijack the primary. You can't say to, because you hate Hillary Clinton so much, you can't say to millions and millions of Republicans who've already cast their votes, your vote doesn't matter. I get that that Republicans don't want Democrats to vote in general elections. I got it. I think it's terrible. I understand. I see why they do that. But when you do that to your own people, that's not a smart way of going about an amicable divorce. And that's what's happening in the Republican Party right now, sadly. Because I have said this before, and I will continue to say it. I want a strong, thriving Republican Party. That should shock people, but it shouldn't, because I want someone to beat up. I want to compete with Republicans for ideas and for policy proposals, and I want to say, okay, you've got a policy proposal as a Republican, we've got policy proposals as Democrats. Now let's go fight it out, and may the American people tell us who's going to win. That's what I want. I like a two-party system, but what I don't like is when Democrats are sitting around infighting and Republicans are sitting around infighting. But here's the dirty little secret. I'm not here to bail out the Republican Party for getting in bed with the devil in the 1980s. I'm not here to do that. That's not my point. That's their job. And it's all coming home to roost. When you lie down with dogs, you get up with fleas. That's what happens. And that's what's happened here in the Republican Party. They have made the deal with the devil years ago. Lee Atwater helped do this. And they thought the white South was going to carry them for eternity. Well, they have figured something out. The white South can't continue to carry you for eternity. There are other states out there that matter.
Well, and I also think when you spend the midterm elections promising people you're going to repeal Obamacare with Obama still in the White House, there's ample reason why the base no longer trusts the party establishment.
Right.
That makes sense, because they were promised something, and then you had the leaders here, once they, got some more points on the board, saying, well, that's not possible. Well, that's not what you said during the election.
Well, let me
all
ask
of a sudden
you
it's
this.
not possible?
If there's a Democrat in the White House on January 20-something, 2017, and you have a Republican House and a Republican Senate like you currently have today, can you repeal Obamacare?
No.
Okay, so then why do we keep having conversations about repealing Obamacare? Not you.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, Donald Trump is out there saying, I'm going to repeal and replace Obamacare with something great.
Right.
Like what? I don't understand what that is.
Right. And that has been criticism. You hear that from Republicans saying, guys, we have to have an alternative. And so that's been an inter-party criticism as well. Now, you also, we can't ignore the fact that Democrats are having a little bit of a family fight as well.
Let's talk about that.
All out in public.
Let's somebody took their panties off and we can see them.
Yeah, it is a.
This is not a laundry moment.
I don't follow that.
You know what? It is Jimmy's birthday.
Yeah,
so
yeah. I'm just gonna let that one go.
Wow.
You know where that was going?
No, it's airing your dirty laundry is my point. You don't do that on the Democratic side.
Well, and they are. It is bad.
I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Somebody took their britches off, and here we got to look at it. I don't want to see your britches. Put your britches on. Nobody wants to see this. I don't want to hear whether you're qualified or unqualified.
It seems like it just keeps on getting nastier, and in a lot of ways, the Clinton campaign sort of has like an impossible task, right? Because they can't go after Bernie Sanders so hard that they scorch the earth and leave Vermont a barren place.
That's
no,
right.
they need those voters.
That's right.
It's a bad mix of Hillary Clinton being really frustrated and Bernie Sanders getting sort of desperate, I think. And I think that those tensions running on both sides is not good. Right?
Well, I mean, look. She's in this enviable position that Barack Obama was in last time.
Yeah.
Isn't it ironic that here we are, she's being the Obama of 2016. That's her job this time. Let's focus on what the reality of the situation is. And Bernie is Hillary in a way. No, I'm going to get this. I'm going to get this. My voters are going to, listen, after Obama won the primary, there was a meeting at the Mayflower Hotel with Hillary's top donors and supporters with Obama's people. And I got to tell you something, it was not pretty.
Mm-hmm.
It was, we hate your guy. We don't care about your guy. We don't care that he's a Democrat. We're not going to give to him, et cetera, et cetera. That happened.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what they did?
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward to 2016, is that going to be the case this time?
I think the difference is, well, it depends on who the Republicans run.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
I think that's going to motivate Democratic voters to come out who may not love themselves some Hillary Clinton. But I do think a lot of these new voters just might stay home if their candidate is not on the ballot.
Right.
And that is the question because young people, for whatever reason, aren't Hillary people. And the other thing that keeps dogging her
Well, then
is
they better not be gay or want abortions or want to be in a union.
honest and trustworthy. Just those words. That is hurting her. It's the email scandal. It's any multitude of things. But she I have a fellowship at Georgetown, so I talk to a lot of millennials, and I hear it over and over again. They just don't trust her.
You know why they don't trust her? The email thing doesn't help.
No.
But they don't trust her because the entire time they were growing up, their parents watched Whitewater, Travelgate, this gate, that gate, Vince Foster. I mean, the most investigated people in the history of the United States, the Clintons.
See, I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. I think a lot of people might have forgotten about it. But you know, one of the things that I saw so much.
I mean, because we were talking about conspiracy theories in my discussion group one day, and I said Vince Foster and got a bunch of blank stares.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know that it's that deep.
But their parents remember this.
Their parents remember this, but a lot of their parents, their mothers particularly, if they're Democrats, love Hillary Clinton. So, I mean, I was talking to a student the other day who said my mom loves her, and I just she's like my mom. She's my mom's friend who I don't really like. It's just she just doesn't trust.
But the email thing can't be the only reason why Hillary Clinton is, quote, not trusted.
I can tell you one of the things that I saw a lot this week was the minimum wage thing in New York. Yeah. Because Hillary said Martin O'Malley and Bernie Sanders both wanted a $15 an hour minimum wage. They pushed for it, and Hillary called it pie in the sky. Quote, pie in the sky. Never going to happen.
Yeah.
And said that she would settle for a $12 minimum wage. So when Governor Cuomo in New York signed the $15 minimum wage law earlier this week, guess who was there on stage with her hands up and acting like she was for it? Was Hillary Clinton. And a lot of people know that. And remember, she just said a couple months ago, this will never happen. And now she's taking credit for getting it done.
It's also Bernie Sanders talking about her Wall Street speeches. They're listening to that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing. I mean, what he is saying to some of these voters who are new ears to this process, for all intents and purposes, I'm not saying they're low information voters. I'm not saying that at all, because this is the age of the internet. They're all reading, on their phones and online constantly. But what he is saying is having an impact.
Well, we're going to talk more about this when we come back with Jackie Kucinich. And by the way, we are coming back.
Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
And it's Jimmy Williams back here with Jackie Kucinich. Jackie, good morning, darling.
Good morning, Jimmy.
Always a pleasure.
Oh, I love being here.
I'm sure thank goodness that you do. Here's the deal. We're going to come back in just a minute with Lucia Grays, and we're going to talk about Donald Trump's problem with Hillary.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get fire adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American. As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
And it's Jimmy Williams in for Bill Press. Good morning, everybody. I've got Lucia Graves in here from The Guardian. Good morning, Lucia.
Good morning.
I called you Lucia before.
That's true.
Which in Italy is right.
But
we're not in Italy.
No.
We're in
unfortunately
Southeast Washington, D.C. Eastern Market. Yes.
Yeah.
We're not in Italy. We're not even in Italy, which I wish we were doing this in Italy, in New York. That would be fantastic.
Yes, please invite me when you do that show.
Okay, Peter, Jamie, can we do this next time I guest host? Can we do this from New York and Italy?
Got it.
Okay, thanks. I'm not asking much.
Penciled in.
Thank you. Penciled. Didn't erase it. That's what those are penciling in. Jackie Kucinich is also still with us from the Daily Beast. You can follow Jackie on Twitter at JF Kucinich, and you can follow Lucia at Lucia_Graves, Graves. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
This is a wonderful way to spend my birthday. This makes me happy.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I am knocking on 50, and I am happy about it. You have written a fabulous piece in The Guardian about Donald Trump and women. And we don't mean his ex-wives. Talk to me.
Well, I mean, people know that Donald Trump has a women problem, but what they don't know is that it's impossible to win the election with the kind of problem that he increasingly has. It's more than 50% of the electorate.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at young women and single women, which is a larger percent of the population than it ever has been historically, it's going to be close on 25% of the electorate in the fall. It's like
so how does
90%.
He win? How does he win?
I think I don't think he does. And in general, I think it's really good news for Hillary Clinton, and I think it solves a lot of the problems she's having right now in the primary with Bernie Sanders, where single women who tend to be young don't like her. They vote for Sanders 2-1. But maybe she doesn't have to do anything about that. Maybe she just has to wait it out and hope that she faces off against Trump. Although after Wisconsin, it's looking like she might not be able to count on that.
I said, and the staff here knows, that my colleagues here know, that I said back in December that I think Ted Cruz gets the nomination. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, it seems like we just talked about this, but it seems like Ted Cruz has been laying the foundation for this for a long time.
Right.
And
long game, baby, long game.
Well, and it doesn't help that Donald Trump is helping him. in terms of if Donald Trump hadn't said what he said about abortion, if Donald Trump hadn't gone after Heidi Cruz, which is still absolutely bizarre to me how that happened.
That's just the craziest thing he ever did.
Well, right.
Like,
and he
like the
started
abortion
it.
thing on a policy and a political perspective is bad, but going after Ted Cruz's wife.
On a policy perspective, he's not nearly as bad as anyone else. In the
Well,
Republican Party.
it seems to me he's just saying, okay, so he just attacked another man's wife.
Why?
What is the point of that?
There's like that. That's a lose situation. It just didn't. It was petty, and it was sort of part of the Donald Trump real estate mogul playbook, not Donald Trump the presidential candidate. Like, my wife is prettier than your wife. Like, seriously? It isn't. It's below. It's beyond the pale. Really.
I don't even know. I don't have an analogy for it. I mean, it's just dumb.
In
It's
2016,
dumb.
it's unbelievable. And it wasn't just that incredibly tasteless tweet. It was also his comments about abortion and how women who have abortion should be punished for it, which alienated both liberals and conservatives.
Actually, he was a uniter.
Right.
Who knew that the pro-life and the pro-choice communities could come together with such vehemence?
Exactly. It just displays that he actually has no core values and is just saying whatever he thinks his electorate wants to hear, but he doesn't actually know the correct policy.
And that's one of those. That's one of those issues. And I said this right after it happened. No one really if you're someone running for president at the level that Donald Trump is in politics, you're not like abortion. Gosh, where am I on that? Like, it's part of your core. It's part of your set of beliefs. It's not like.
But it's not.
No, but I'm saying. But I'm saying
For
generally.
him.
I'm saying generally.
For anybody else running for president.
Any other Republican.
Any other Democrat. Anybody else
Right.
running for president ever of all time.
Right.
Could not do what Donald Trump did.
Right. And you know what? He lost evangelicals to Cruz in Wisconsin. And I wonder if that's why. He was supposed to be on a call with Catholic conservatives yesterday about abortion, and he blew it off. He didn't call in. So, Betsy Woodruff reported that yesterday. So,
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, he really is, with these key constituencies, he's not doing the maintenance. Other candidates have coalition directors. Have the staff is helps maintain these groups. Trump doesn't seem to have that yet.
Well, speaking of staff, his campaign manager was videotaped assaulting a female reporter.
Yep.
And he came out and defended his campaign manager.
After he assailed her character and disparaged her and tried to basically blame the victim.
Is this lost on women that are paying attention? On Republican women? Is this lost on women?
Absolutely not. No, you can see the graphs for Trump's candidacy, and every month that he stays on the trail, he becomes more and more unpopular with women. It started at like just over 50%, now it's at 70%. And I haven't seen the polls after last week, but I'm sure it's even worse now.
Well, and so even his supporters say, when you talk to his female supporters, they'll tell you, yeah, I don't like that he did that. Now, they're not walking away.
Yes.
But they don't like the kind of petulant, silly, like schoolyard insults that he has engaged in.
But this is the great thing. I wonder, I don't know why people haven't seen this. He's been engaging in petulant, silly, schoolyard debates from the very beginning.
Oh, right.
So then now all of a sudden he does it to women, and women wake up and go, whoa, no, it's not okay. You can't. Really? How about that you're a petulant, silly school child with the worst comb over in the free world? And did you think, did Republican women think that they were immune to Donald Trump's silly schoolyard bullying?
But the thing is, he was only bullying other male candidates because that's a Republican field.
Carly Fiorina, he made fun of her face.
Yes, he made fun of her appearance.
And it went horribly, and then she was out, and then he went back to making fun of little Marco and, Jeb, the girl.
Yeah, exactly.
And people laugh at that. People think it's funny. But when you do that on stage with a woman, it just plays as sexist. It's not funny.
But I will say there is some internal concern in the Clinton campaign and some of her surrogates that I've heard that they're worried about her going up against Donald Trump in, like, let's say, a debate stage, because they don't know. She has been attacked. She does very well in debates because she's kind of a nerd. She's a policy person, right? And she will debate issues, But when someone comes at her hot about her personal life over and over and over again, there is a concern about how to play this, how to react to that.
So my podcast today that comes out around 1 o'clock today, which I will be on a plane to Miami, the podcast for Decode DC, I speak with a professor at GW, Corinne McCauley, and political science professor, and it's about women and gender and politics. And this came up. This is the podcast. Her opinion is Hillary should just lean into it and let him do what he's going to do, and it will play to her advantage. Do you agree?
I mean, no one's been more dragged over the coals in terms of their personal life and like below the belt hits than Hillary Clinton, right?
And above the belt hits.
And above
some
the
of this
belt
she's
hits.
brought it upon herself. I'm a Hillary supporter. But yes.
Her chilly relations with the press corps, people who've spent who've dedicated the last year or two of their lives covering her on the trail can't get an exclusive. They can't get anything with her because she doesn't trust anyone in the press. And I think part of that is that she's a pretty cool demeanor.
She's not her husband.
No.
Hillary Clinton is not Bill Clinton, and everyone expects her to be charismatic, dynamic, I remember your name, press the flesh, how old is your kid now, 28 years later. That's what they expect her to be. That's not Hillary Clinton. She is a very calculated politician.
Yeah, and she's getting better at adjusting expectations for that too. Like her line the other day, "I'm not a natural politician," I think is a brilliant line because she's trying to recalibrate people to not expect her to be Bill Clinton.
But Jackie, if Trump does get the nomination, and then and Hillary Clinton gets the nomination, and we head into the fall, and he goes after her on the debate stage, and he starts talking, doing the same stuff he's doing now, does that play to her advantage?
She is very good when her back's against the wall. She's very good, and I hate to say this, when she's the victim, right? When she looks like someone is treating her unfairly, it plays very well for her. That said, Donald Trump is a different animal. I personally have never seen anyone say to her some of the charges that are made in a Roger Stone book, right?
Right.
And just some of these really nasty attacks having to do with, Bill Clinton's extracurricular activities. You haven't seen that said to her face. And you have to imagine if Donald Trump is the nominee that her folks are really going to have to steel her to that and say really uncomfortable, nasty things to her face.
But doesn't she want that?
I don't know, though. I don't.
Doesn't she? It's a win-win for Hillary Clinton if they become the nominee.
In any normal situation, I would agree with you.
Because otherwise she has to debate him. If he doesn't go after her for that kind of stuff, then he has to debate policy with Hillary Clinton.
Right.
He can't win on policy. My God, he doesn't even know what his own policy is.
It's true.
He's a genius at not having to actually engage in policy, though.
I wonder, because of how unpredictable this race has been, because of how good he is at getting under people's skin and making them look terrible when, in all intents and purposes, he should be the one who looks awful.
Right.
That's the only reason this is giving me pause.
All right, we're going to come back in just a minute. Lucia and Jackie are going to stay with us, but we're going to keep talking about women and, just women. We'll be right back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
It occurred to me tonight, for the first time, that the long-winged insect that over and over again rams its body into the wood of my front door might not know what he's doing. He might not have a plan. Maybe that's just how he flies, and that is where the door is. And I remember you, the last time I saw you, a few weeks before we would graduate from high school, and a few days before you let a bullet dissolve on your tongue. Dancing in a warehouse rave, sweat-drenched and strobe light battered, thrashing your arms back and thrusting them forward. The floor could get so bright and loud, we all slowed down to be more careful, but you kept dancing full sprint tornado, and sometimes you'd spin full weight into a wall and just spread your arms against it and sway back and forth like a lover reunited. This long-winged insect is not trying to get into the house. It doesn't know there is a house. can't imagine a life beyond that door. All it can see is the light. You and I were both 17 when you died. And ever since then, I have envied you. How you are remembered for towering, unclaimed potential instead of living to look regret in the face. You didn't have to come home 3 weeks later and explain to your little brother why you took too much medicine. Your addiction is remembered as a tragedy, not a betrayal. Your suicide attempt became a suicide, not an unpaid hospital bill. And only tonight did it occur to me that maybe that night when you let your teeth touch metal, you might not have known what you were doing. You might not have had a plan. Maybe you had hit that door so many times you couldn't imagine it might let you through. I'm still ashamed to admit it, but I have always secretly believed you did it for me, that you wanted to show me that there is a way out of all of this. Not so that I would follow you, but so I would understand that every day that I am alive is a day that I choose to be alive. And when the music stops, you still get to keep on dancing. And when the light is so bright it blinds, you can dance with your eyes closed. And if in that dark you come up against a wall, you keep your arms out wide and you dance with the wall.
And online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
And it's Jimmy Williams in for Bill Press. I've got Lucia Graves and Jackie Kucinich here with me. We have a caller from Illinois, Rocco from Illinois. What part of Illinois are you from, Rocco?
Right near Chicago. I'm in Westchester, Illinois.
Yeah, I know where Westchester is, actually, oddly enough, believe it or not.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's something that I haven't heard considered by you guys in talking about the negative perceptions of Hillary Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
The Iraq War and aligning herself with George W. Bush.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is heavy. I mean, this bears on people's minds. And, you can say, well, I'm sorry for the death of 4,500 soldiers. You can say I'm sorry about creating this huge amount of debt. Well, I'm really sorry. I'm not sure how far that goes.
Let me ask you this, Rocco.
Yeah.
Do you think that George Bush and Dick Cheney should apologize to lying to the United States Congress?
Well,
it's actually a simple yes or no answer.
That's not the issue, okay?
No, that is the issue. I was a Senate
Rocco.
I was a Senate staffer when that happened. My boss, Dick Durbin, your senator, voted against that resolution, and I was proud of that moment. Most senators voted for it.
Right.
Does that mean that Joe Biden's a bad guy? Does that mean that all the rest of these people are bad because they voted for the resolution, or is it just because Hillary Clinton did it?
Well, here's my point. When she stands on the stage with Donald Trump or any other, or Ted Cruz, and they bring this up, the points you're making may not be as relevant, okay? They will attack her for this as Donald Trump attacked Jeb Bush for this. Jeb Bush had nothing to do with it, really, okay? And so that's my point.
Okay. I'm not sure. Listen, we've been saying for 3 hours now that Hillary Clinton, for a long time now, that Hillary Clinton's vote on the Iraq War resolution is a ding in the armor.
Yeah, it's a blemish on her record. I agree.
No doubt about it. And you know what? And I was down there. I was there for that debate. I was in the Capitol on 9/11. I know this, and it sucked. I was there. I had to have a Q-tip shoved up my nose because I was next to the room where the anthrax was. I went on Cipro for 90 days. Folks, I was there. And the whole country was shaken apart. And the Bush administration told us what they told us, and our politicians voted yes or no. It's a fact of life, and you cannot take that vote back. None of them can.
I honestly think it hurts her more in a primary election.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Because when you have Ted Cruz talking about carpet bombing civilians, it's
or
not
rounding up Arabs,
or it doesn't. It's not like she's debating folks who aren't. And Donald Trump is another animal entirely because he said. I mean, as he said, he predicted the Iraq War, whatever he said. I lose track sometimes. He doesn't have as much credibility on those issues as even Ted Cruz, because Ted Cruz is a sitting United States senator, and he's said some things that are fairly. I mean, he's a hawk, right? Yes. And hindsight is 20/20, and you can criticize. And Bernie Sanders has much more of a leg to stand on when it comes to the war argument.
Absolutely, yes.
Than someone like a Ted Cruz, and whoever their running mates are. There's a good chance that Donald Trump, if he does pick an insider, as he's indicated as a vice presidential nomination, that he picks someone who voted for the Iraq War. So it just, I don't know that this is going to be an issue going into a general election where, usually people vote on the economy.
Yeah. What do you, Lucia?
There's a reason that this is the entire foreign policy platform of Bernie Sanders, right? It's the strongest argument he has against her by far, and he knows it. And the idea that the experience is not a substitute for judgment, for good judgment, is a compelling one, and that's why it's the only one he's been making.
Well, it is the only one he's been making. And listen, Bernie Sanders, who I love him. I do love him. I think he's got a lot of great ideas. I don't agree with all of them, but at least he cares about the future of the country. By the way, so do the Republicans. To think that they don't is not true. But Bernie Sanders has been in the Congress since 1991. It's not like his foreign policy bona fides should not be solid and we should know. It's not like he's never been on a congressional delegation trip abroad. He has. And the other day he literally said Scandinavia was a country. And I thought, my God, Scandinavia is not a country. It's actually three. This is when George Bush said that Africa is a fabulous country. I'm like, no, it's a continent. No, it's not a country. It's a continent. Come on, guys. If you're going to actually sit around and have a conversation about foreign policy, by the way, most Americans don't give a damn.
Neither does Bernie Sanders.
Well, but that, again, when Bernie Sanders started losing ground on that is when you talk about terrorism. That's when they start caring about foreign policy. When it becomes about safety.
That's
exactly.
Right. That's exactly
that.
Right.
That's when things get real and, God forbid, something happens. But after Paris, remember, there was a very sharp relief. And that's when, but, day to day, kitchen table issues, when you talk to progressives, Bernie Sanders is speaking their language, and Hillary Clinton's her pragmatism isn't exactly lighting their hair on fire. Yeah, sure. Is that more likely what could happen? What Hillary Clinton is talking about? Sure.
Yeah.
But we're talking about being aspirational and having that kind of campaign, which tends to really, especially young people, they want to think of something that they think is better.
So we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to wrap up with Lucia and Jackie. See you in a minute, guys.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It's Jimmy Williams, and wrapping up for Bill Press, who is sleeping somewhere in the south of France with the Mediterranean. He's actually in California pimping his book, Buyer's Remorse, and you should get that book. Buy it from your local bookstore if you can't buy it from Amazon. All right, I've got Lucia and Jackie here. Let's talk about what's coming up, which is New York State. A New York set of mind. New York values.
Indeed.
Okay.
Don't remind
Ted Cruz needs this, doesn't he? He's in third.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, he absolutely needs New York. And it's a state that's not usually in play, which I think is why he felt so comfortable in the debates this winter, just trashing, so-called New York values and every other candidate who's in the race who's from New York or has a New York connection. He's going to be really sorry about that come April 19th.
The latest poll he's sitting, I think, at something like 17%. I mean, John Kasich is higher. Jackie, how does he do this?
He's going to try to work around the margins. Delegate here, delegate there, and just try to run up his total to block Donald Trump so they can get to the convention floor.
Thank you, Lucia. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you to the team here at Bill Press Show. And I'm heading on a plane going down to Miami. I will see you next time, guys. Thank you very much for a great show.
This is the Bill Press Show.